Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, Director of Sales for Bona Adhesives.
And I'm Rob Johnson from the Bona Training. I'm laughing because it sounded like you forgot for a
I did.
second.
I didn't forget.
Yeah,
Nope. Nope. So how you doing, Rob?
very good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
I see
I
you
don't
got your Christmas decorations up in the background.
no, not really.
I'll have Pauline come over.
Is this curtains and oh I see you
You-
got
oh
yours.
yeah, you can see ours. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Nice.
every room.
Okay, very
She
nice.
has a picture. We have a Santa in the bathroom that is
Kind of
like
creepy.
oh yeah. I'll take a picture of it and send it
Yeah.
to you guys. It watches you while you're going to the bathroom.
Yeah, like our cats.
It's kind of sneaky. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
But Pauline, it's just another place
Yeah,
she found to put a Santa.
yeah. Some people are into that.
Oh yeah.
Um, all right. So today we decided that we're going to talk about bosses and some good ones and bad ones and some of the experiences we've had over our careers and take what you want from that for people out there who are bosses and or you everybody it seems like everybody has a boss. One thing about doing floors, even if you own your own business, you have a boss every week. It's whoever you're being contracted with, right? Whoever
Yes,
whoever you're doing floors for.
absolutely. Right.
That's actually one of the toughest parts of working for the public and being a contractor. And one of the good things, at least about being a contractor, a flooring contractor specifically, is that if you have a just a bad customer, like it's just really bad customer, what do you the most you're with them a month? You know what I mean? That would be a long one. You know, usually it's a week and a half, 2 weeks, right? And you move on to the next one. But you shake your head.
Exactly.
Yeah, Rob is shaking
Yeah.
his head in the affirmative.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well,
That's the toughest part, I think.
yeah, because
Or one of the toughest parts.
you could say every year you have 20 bosses, 20 different bosses, 20 different personalities that you got to get along with. And that's a pretty challenging part of this job. We've had some bad bosses over the years, man. Me and Rob were talking, and I've certainly have. I've been in construction mm, most of my life in one form or the other, and I've had some doozies, man. I've had some really bad bosses. I had a boss tell me that you might as well quit. Like every day he'd tell me, yeah, I might as well quit. I'm not going to make it. Uh, I was at a construction in the labor's union, and he just didn't want me on the job.
So you were a union guy and he was telling you to
Yeah,
quit.
yep, yep.
Wow.
And yeah, he didn't want me on the job because he didn't hire me. You know, he hired his own guys, and I came out of the hall, and he just did not want me on the job. Made it clear from the very day I started, but so yeah, every day he tell me you might as well quit. You might as well go home. Why don't you just quit? I mean, everybody kept saying, "What'd you do to him?" I go, "I didn't do nothing to the guy. I don't know what his deal is." I mean, I showed up. I worked every day. I was never a minute late for work. I never left early. I never, never took time off. You know, but so yeah. How about you?
Um, I know this is gonna sound cold. When I think I was in the seventh grade, I said to my dad, and it wasn't anything, it wasn't my birthday, it wasn't Christmas, nothing. And I said, hey, I'd like a new bike. Just, I needed a new bike. And he was
What?
like, he was like, all right. I never asked for anything when I was a kid, never asked for a thing, just never had it in me. But this one, I was like, I'd like a bike.
Yeah.
And I go, I'd like to show it to you. So we get down to, if anybody lived in Andover, Mass back in the 70s, there was only one place to buy anything for sports or bikes. It was Dana's Sports Shop. It was like paradise for
Mhm.
guys my age. And everybody would go there after school and just walk around. It was crazy.
Wow.
So I walk into the place with my dad and I'm like, here it is. It was a Raleigh chopper. You remember the Raleigh chopper? Do you remember
I
that?
don't. I remember the Schwinn Stingrays, but I don't remember the Raleigh Chopper. And
All right. Look it up when we're done
okay,
because they were the most badass. Like they had a little wheel in the front, a big, huge wheel in the back. Almost wasn't a banana seat. It looked more like a motorcycle seat with a big sissy bar. I mean, it was orange and it said chopper on it. I mean, it was had a three speed stick
I
shift.
was going to ask you if it had the stick shift on it.
Oh yeah, it had
Yeah.
it was everything. It was $85. $85. And
Okay.
my father looked at me and started laughing. He goes, "You're gonna have to go to your grandfather and get a job." My grandfather owned a bowling alley in town, Candlepin, a candlepin bowling alley. If you want to know what a candlepin bowling alley, Wayne, this is a candlepin.
Oh,
Look at
no
that.
kidding. It's a
Yeah, that's a
bowling pin,
that
right?
that's a bowling candlepin bowling pin. Yes.
Wow.
You only see it in a couple of states in New England. Maine, New Hampshire, maybe a little Connecticut, some in Rhode Island. So I went to my grandfather, asked for a job, and I'm getting around to bosses. Okay. He offered me a job, 50 cents an hour after school. It was like 3 hours after school. The absolute scariest man I ever worked for in my life. He
Really?
was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Not so much to me, but anybody who worked in the bowling alley, including myself. Just the scariest man alive.
And he was your granddad?
Nothing like my grandfather, that I saw at Christmas and on the weekends at the camp. And you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At work,
Different guy.
he was terrifying. I
Wow.
mean, terrifying. I cleaned ashtrays, I cleaned lanes, I cleaned the gutters, I cleaned bathrooms, swept the parking lot, right? But I was never allowed to go into the ladies' room and clean the ladies' room. And it was like
You gotta take the yin with the yang.
every day he would be like, don't go in there. Do not go in there. Yeah. And yeah, so one day I went in there and, just to see what the hell's going on. Why am I not allowed in this place? Right.
Yeah.
I open up the door to one of the stalls and I'm like, the hell is that little box? What what is that? And
Mm-hmm.
just as I'm wondering, I feel this hand. And he was a huge man. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he was huge, 6'3", 6'4", 270 pounds.
Wow.
And this hand clutched my shoulder. And I thought, this is it. This is the end of my life.
Did he catch you on the camera in there?
There were no cameras. My gosh, this was like 1973 or 4. There were no cameras anywhere. No. Uh, and I thought for sure I wouldn't get caught. Absolutely. I'm like, all right, there's nobody around.
He got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
I wanted to ask him what the little boxes were for, but I figured
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just, yeah. He sent me home for the day. I didn't get fired, but
Yeah.
my day was over. I think I only made 50 cents that day.
Did you have to explain to your mom or dad why you got sent home?
No way. No, I didn't go right home. There's no way
Yeah.
I was coming home early.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Pretty funny. So that's a lot of hours at 50 cents an hour to make $85.
Well, I had a paper route too.
Okay.
So every Saturday, I would take all the money I earned for the week, go to the bank, and the bank was literally across the street from the sports shop, Dana's sports shop. And I'll never forget going in there one day and all the bank lady, all the tellers and everything were all excited. They're like, "Is it? Yep, today's the day. I got it." Took the money out, walked across the street, and drove that bike right out the front door.
No kidding.
Yep.
We um we didn't have when we were living in Colorado, we didn't have bikes, and my brother wanted a bike in the worst way. He was older than me. And we didn't have all the neighborhood kids had bikes, and we didn't have one. And he didn't have one. So we wanted one desperately. You walk everywhere. So he stole the kid's bike down the road. Now, and the kid came knocking on our door. Hey, your brother's got my bike, and he was mad. He's looking for us, and he didn't steal it to keep it permanently. He just wanted to drive it for the day. And when he got back, it led to the best fight I've ever seen in my life. Him and that kid in the dead end of the street fighting after he caught up with my brother. It was a great fight, man. Little kids. I mean, there's like 15 kids watching it. But I don't think, I'm trying to think if I had any good bosses. I do now, obviously. But think Stan, my Uncle Stan was a good boss. I mean, if you could call it, but he didn't feel like it was a boss because he was my uncle. But and the expectations were there. But he was a gentle guy to learn from. Uh, um, but I'm trying to think if I've had no. My next boss from the labor guy. I think I've told that story before. I eventually I told my it was turned out to be my wife Judy, because she used to make me a lunch in the mornings. I told her, I said, I don't need a lunch today. She goes, oh, you guys are going to go out to eat? I said, no, I'm going to go there and beat this dude up. And today's my last day at work. And so, I got promoted to from the labor's union, I got into the carpenters union. And then my labor foreman was my next boss. Couldn't stand him.
Is that the guy you fought? Did you fight that guy?
No, I didn't. It's a long story. I don't have to go into it too much, but I got sent on another part of the job where he wasn't at for like 3 weeks. So I never saw him for like 3 weeks, and then then life moved on. But then for the same company, I got in the carpenters union, and the labor, I mean the carpenter superintendent was my boss on that job. And he also was a really a bad boss. If you work in construction, there's things you're gonna have to put up with. I mean, part of the job description is you're gonna take a lot of crap from people. That is absolutely part of the job description. If you're an apprentice in the trades, you're gonna get the worst kind of. I mean, there is nothing politically correct or polite about any of this. Back in the day, I don't know if it's changed, but man, oh man, you get
I think
talked to
it's
like a
changed.
dog. You think
I
so?
think it's changed.
I hope it
Yeah.
has for it didn't serve any purpose. And listen, as you move up the ladder, it's fun. You know what I mean? Because then then somebody else is coming up, and
Yeah.
you just more of the same. But maybe it's changed now.
Uh, I think it's changed a little bit in construction, especially where people are just trying to keep people.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, you and I are in the trades. We hear it every single day. And it's not just our trade. It's, other guys that I know, carpenters, painters, they can't keep anybody. They can't find anybody. They can't get anybody. So, so if you're going to treat people like a horse's yeah,
man.
there's a lot of options out there for guys who want to do this, I
Yeah,
think.
because when I say it's brutal, it was brutal coming up in the trades. I mean, I worked for my father-in-law, and he was one of the worst bosses on planet Earth. I mean, I can say he would swear at you so much that the sentence would no longer make any sense. You know what I mean? And he didn't teach you anything. He just screamed at you. I mean, like threw stuff at you and whatever. And I remember when you're an apprentice, the first thing you're supposed to do is get like they give you a list of tools that you have to supply. It'd be framing square. It'd be carpenter pencils, whatever, and that's 20-ounce hammer and whatever different things. So I went down to back in the day it was Sears, and I just bought all these tools. I don't, you don't know what you're buying when you're an apprentice. And the day's just starting, and there's like 20 guys, like standing around, and I've got my bucket there of tools. And he goes, "What do you got there?" I go, "It's my tool list. You gave me a tool list. So I got everything on the list." And he took it and he dumped it out on the dirt, all the tools. And he goes, "What'd you buy this for?" And he kicked it about 20 yards away. And he picked up the chalk box. He goes, "Well, this was stupid." And he threw that in the what do you call it, the 55-gallon drum thing. And it just basically kicked my tools all over the place. All right, let's go to work. And then you got to scramble and pick up all your tools. And I mean, it is the trades back in the day were rough, man. But like I said, once you got into it, once you realized that was the deal, and then you moved up, then you know, there's always someone coming up underneath.
I'll tell you, when I first took the crew over, the family business crew, I was a tyrant. I was such an ass. I mean, I'm surprised my brother even talks to me.
Really.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I didn't learn anything from the people that I work for. Not a thing.
Yeah.
All I learned was, I guess this is how you do it, type of a thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? This is how you get results.
Yeah.
You just make everybody hate you and live off of the hate.
I worked at a Dairy Queen when I was 14 years old, and we hired a new kid, and it was his first day. And so they said, I'd been there like a whopping 6 months. And they go, "Okay, this new kid's starting. Let's see what he's made of." You make him clean up all the tables and put up all the chairs up on the tables and clean the tables and mop the room. So he goes, "Man, my hand's killing me. He did something over the weekend or whatever. He goes, I can't lift these chairs up. Can you help me?" I go, "Well, what did we hire you for?" So
There's not many other options for you to do here at Dairy Queen.
yeah.
I Did you have to wear a paper hat?
No, I worked in the back. And the best thing, the only good thing about that job is whenever one of the girls, man, the owner of that store was horrible, man, horrible human being. His friend and I were best friends, and his dad was horrible. And when the girls made a mistake, let's say you ordered a banana split, and the customer said, "No, I didn't ask for chocolate sauce or whatever. You gave me chocolate sauce. It was the wrong thing." He would slide it back between the thing back to me, like it's a mistake, so you can have it. So I'm like,
Oh,
I'm happy.
sorry.
And man, he was so mean to those girls, man. It was crazy. Meanwhile, they lived in a beautiful home. They had a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways to do things in this world when you're dealing with people, and certainly it's funny because as I've gotten older, I have more empathy for young kids starting out. And there is, and I was talking to some kid the other day, and he goes, "Yeah, I was in construction. It just, man, I was useless. I was terrible, and everybody yelled at me all the time." And so I just couldn't take it when I quit. And I went, But then I thought, that's messed up. Not everybody thrives in that kind of work environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that mentality is going away. It served no purpose. There is one thing I think what you were trying to do is toughen you up, which you needed to be toughened up. You specifically. No, I mean, people in general, when you're a kid and you're going into trades, it's a tough job, man. You need to be toughened up. You know what I mean? But I think there's other ways to do that. And you certainly don't have to berate people and yell at people and scream at people and do those type of things. I think the other stuff is okay. I mean, the demanding part of it where, it's because it's a physical job. But I think the other stuff is yelling at people and that kind of stuff is no way to behave.
Talking about my grandfather just reminded me of another story. Um, our warehouse for the Bowling Lane Construction Company, H.A. Johnson and Sons, was in a building attached to the bowling alley, Andover Lanes. So if my grandfather got jammed up with a machine or something and we were back there, he would call back there and say, "Hey, can send somebody up. I need a hand with this or that or whatever." Now, this is way after I worked for him when I was getting, now I'm, year or two out of high school. So my uncle sends Pete when Pete was working for the family business. My uncle sends Pete back there to help my grandfather. About an hour later, I see Pete like just standing alone in the warehouse holding this light bulb, right?
Yeah.
This this long light bulb, right? This
Mhm.
tube light.
Yeah.
And that's what they used on the pin setters to illuminate the pins.
Hmm.
Well, my grandfather had sent Pete down to the hardware store, Cole's Hardware, just down the end of the block, to pick up a new light bulb because one had gone out. So Pete goes in, and the guy says, "We don't have that light bulb. We don't have that one. We never have
Yeah.
had that one."
Yeah.
So Pete goes back and tells my grandfather, "Hey, they don't have it." My grandfather just blows a gasket, right? Not really yelling at Pete, but yelling
The world.
about the whole situation
Yeah.
because he's got a lane down. So he sends Pete back, sends Pete back to the hardware store. It said, Mr. Johnson says that he gets these all the time here. And he's like, I don't care who said what. We don't have this. There's no way. There's no way Pete's going back and telling my grandfather a second time.
Yeah.
So he just walks to the back of the warehouse and stands there in the warehouse. And we're all like, Pete, what are you doing? I'm not going back to your grandfather and telling him they don't have it again. He says, one of you guys has to do it. I can't. I just
Yeah.
can't go back. The man was absolutely terrifying. Okay. But the greatest guy you ever met on the weekends and
Yeah.
holidays and whatever. I mean, just awesome, right? You couldn't ask for a better grandfather,
Wow.
but just terrifying to work with.
So my father-in-law was, I'd say he was a construction superintendent, and he had a lot of guys that worked for him. I mean, they were big jobs. And one day at lunch, he goes, "Hey, come here, come here." I go, "What?" He goes, "Go down that deli, and get me a sandwich." Now I always knew he was picky about his food, right? So he goes, "Yeah, turkey on I think it was like what kind of bread? Sourdough bread. No mayonnaise, just a little mustard. Okay, you handle that?" I go, "Yeah, and give me a Snickers bar or something like that." I said, "Okay, good." So I'm driving down there and I'm thinking, okay, gotta be no sourdough bread or on sourdough bread, whatever, blah blah blah. So I mean, I was panicking I would get it wrong because he was, yeah, it was so mean. So I get there and they go, "Yeah, we don't have any sourdough bread." I went, "Oh, God, you gotta be kidding." I said, "All right, oh man, all right, all right, put on white bread." He said, "Okay, fine." So I go back to him and he's talking to a couple safety inspectors there, got the hard hats on. And so I don't want to talk to him in this setting, but I come up there, I have a sack lunch, and he reaches out for it, and I say, "Tony, here's your change." And um, they didn't have any sourdough bread. I put it on white bread. He goes, and he threw it on the ground, threw the bag on the ground, and kicked it, and called me a dummy. And he walked off. They all stormed off. But I'm thinking there's still a Snickers bar in that bag,
I'm
right?
eating.
I'm
Yeah,
eating that Snickers bar.
I'm eating
Yeah.
that. Hell yeah.
Now who's
Right.
a dummy?
Yeah.
Um,
Two other bosses I had in the family was my uncle and my dad. And my uncle was uh absolute prick. I mean, a prick. He was a quintessential ramrod. But and if Pete was on, he'd tell you the same thing. We learned more how to run a job site from my uncle than anybody ever.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it was a well-oiled machine. Nobody ever stopped. Well, the only thing you ever stopped for was to change paper, and the paper was right there. You were never getting up and going and finding paper or anything like that. I mean, you name it, core, everything, just completely laid out everything. You name it, it was done. That was his job. He rarely ran machines. He just ran people
Yeah.
and just kept everything. He was a prick, but he got great results.
So that begs a question. I've seen documentaries on Bobby Knight, and I've known a lot about Bobby Knight because I am a UK Kentucky basketball fan. So take that, everybody. Um, we didn't like Indiana, and he got incredible results. And I was on TV the other day watching the Saints coach completely berate and scream at his kicker on the sideline. And I've heard people say that, okay, well, would you want to work for a guy like that? Because he brings out the best of everybody. I mean, Bobby Knight took athletes that weren't the best athletes in the country, but through his program and hard work and the defense and how well they played, they probably overachieved, right? And he brought in a lot of players that were overachievers because he was a tyrant. So would you want to work for a guy like that that would bring out the best in you and make you a better person, make you better at what you do? And I think, well, first of all, let me ask you that question. If you had a guy that would make you much better than you are and just bring out the best in you in every possible way to learn the craft, would you want to work for that guy and even him being a tyrant?
Yeah, yeah.
You would.
I don't take it personal.
Okay.
Okay, I I don't take that stuff personal.
Yeah.
One of the stories we were talking about when we were saying our worst was when I used to work at UPS. For 3 or 4 years, I worked UPS just the Christmas rush. It was like the middle of October to first of the year. And this is back in, 79, 80, 81. They were paying $12 an hour, which is, you know, that's like $40 an hour now, right? I think it is. But the guy I work for, he thought he was a Marine drill sergeant. And the only way I can really put it, and this is really showing my age, but if you remember the beginning opening scene of Gomer Pyle, remember Gomer Pyle?
Yeah.
Right? And Gomer's marching with a big eating grin on his face,
Mm-hmm.
while the drill sergeant is standing right next to him, just screaming at the guy.
Yeah.
And Gomer's just marching and smiling. Watch it. It's hysterical, right? He's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
nodding his head and smiling. That was me. I was Gomer Pyle at that UPS job because sometimes they could have two foremen standing in the back of the truck just screaming at the top of their lungs at you. Faster, faster, you late, you name it. They I swear they're all the manager or the truck foremans were just trying to outdo each other with insults and
Yeah.
just the things that they could say to you, right? And people would break down, people would get all pissed and everything. And I'm telling you, all I could think about was, they go ahead, he's screaming, it's $12 an hour. I
Making
ain't
great
leaving
money.
here, right?
Yep.
This is
Yep.
this is beautiful money. Easy too. All I'm not doing any floors, I'm not edging, I'm not doing anything. They just put a big conveyor belt right into an 18 wheeler. You didn't put it on pallets, you didn't put it anywhere. You just stacked boxes as high as you could reach and then just keep stacking thousands and thousands of boxes in the UPS truck. I always wonder if they still do it that way, but that's how we did it. And if you needed to make something fit, you just beat it and bashed it. I mean,
So get in there.
and you fit it in there.
So when I mentioned all three of these guys that I work for that were just horrendously bad bosses to work for, it would be my father-in-law, the labor foreman, and the construction superintendent. They all made me better. I mean, really quick. I mean, they were. I mean, if you ask anybody that worked for those companies, they would say that those are the best crew that's out there. And when I talked to guys since I got away from it, and and I still have some friends that work for the same company at the same time and the same people, and they've gone on to do other things, and they will tell you that was in their entire career the best people the smartest carpenters, the best workers they've ever been around. Okay. So I think there's this. Plus, I was compensated very well. Back then, I was making about $18 an hour, and plus all the benefits and everything, which people were raising families on that. You know what I mean? I was a single guy, so I made
Yeah.
good money, and so that's part of it. But my thing is, I think you can do it for a while. I don't think you can do it for a career. I think like you can do it in sports because you're in college for 4 years basically, right? So you get it. I mean, if you kind of know the drill. I think work is the same way. I think you will work for someone like that for a while when you're learning and you feel like I'm learning, I'm getting better at the trade or whatever. And I think then there's a point when you'll probably leave. You'll probably do something else because after a while you're a man and another man yelling at you like that all the time is probably not going to sit well. You know what I mean? I think that guy would have to change. You know what I mean? And certainly in today's environment, I just don't think it works anymore. I see it in families sometimes when it's still a family dynamic there. But I think um, certainly what's funny to me, and probably you notice the same thing, when you come from working in the trades and you come from working in construction and floors, and then you go to a corporate environment where it's very professional. You know what I mean? Everybody, you know, you certainly don't yell at anybody. You know, you never yell at anybody, and you don't talk like that, and
Well,
everything
I
is
don't
done.
know. Have you seen me around the guys I work with in training? I'm pretty rough on them.
Yeah, but it's a loving kind of fatherly type of thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
yeah,
I have a way of getting across like I'm yelling and screaming and
yeah,
how could you do this? But everybody's kind of laughing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you know what I mean? Nobody, well, you've seen me at trainings, so
yeah,
you
yeah.
know the
It,
deal.
it
It's
has a the undertone is not mean or mean spirited or anything like that. It's
but I
always
get my point across though
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say that I'm probably a fantastic boss now.
yeah. I'd say that you
But I'm
are.
really not the boss at these things. I'm more of the foreman. You know what I mean? D's the
Yeah,
boss.
yeah. True, true. Yeah,
D's definitely the boss. Now, my dad, completely different than my uncle. I learned a ton of stuff from my dad. Okay. But my dad was everybody's buddy. Liar's poker, lunches lasting way too long, storytelling, right? That was my dad. So, where my uncle was a prick and got amazing results, my dad was everybody's buddy. And I would say that the results were mixed. You know, the
yep,
results were mixed. Like you could see that sometimes my uncle would get a little frustrated on time it was taken for my dad's jobs compared to his jobs.
yep.
But he was great. You loved working for him. You love working for him because he was a fun guy, and you learned a ton. Like he wouldn't mind taking stopping the entire job and then showing somebody how to measure and do something where everybody could learn. Where my uncle would be like, Forget it, it's nobody's freaking business, just go."
Yeah, yeah.
Where my dad was, he liked being a teacher. He liked showing people and making sure that everybody knew, right? And I mean, there
So
was a lot of nights that we were just sitting on approaches while my dad is just going through numbers and stuff to make sure everything's going to fit right and this, that. And we'd be there for hours, like hours. And Fred would come in the next day and we got 2 ball returns in when we should have had 30 in.
yeah. Well, that's the other side of that. I mean, yeah, it'd be great. It's great working for a nice guy. I'll tell you something. I was on a job one time when my father-in-law took over a job from a superintendent who got fired. Okay. So he goes, "Hey, we're going to a new job, and there's the address, whatever." And he brought two or three of his other guys with him who stayed with him all the time. Usually when you're in a carpenters union or laborers union, the job is over, you go to the hall. You just wait for the next job. But he took certain guys with him to every job. That's why he got the good crew. And so we showed up at the job there, and I don't know what's going on. I'm a dumb kid. And he goes, all right, everybody line up. So he lined up in the morning outside the trailer, and he goes, so you guys may or may not know your boss, so and so, just got fired. Okay, he's no longer with the company. I have a theory about things like that. I don't think guys get fired on their own. I think they have a lot of help, and I think it came from you. So I'm going to tell you guys right now. I see one of you guys, blah blah. They didn't want to do it. Just. I mean, just crucifying these guys. And he says, and I don't care if you walk out the door right now, it means nothing to me. So you got two choices. It's going to change today, or you can get your ass out there and hit the road. I don't care. Now let's go. I want to see assholes and elbows. And that's just the way he was. But if you look at the results, I mean, he got results. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's a different era. I think as I've gotten older, I realize, man, you really need to treat people with respect, and I think you like you said earlier, I think you have to coach people. I think is the way to go about it, and keep open dialogue or what have you. And so I don't know. I think the best results nowadays. I just don't think it works anymore. Even the army is changing the way that they do the boot camps and stuff like that, where they're not allowed to swear at the guys anymore. I don't know about all
Is
that.
that
Yeah,
all for the better though?
that's what I say. I don't know about all that.
You know,
You know,
there is it better, or is it that's we're getting older?
well, I don't
I
know.
know you don't age. I know you don't
No,
age.
no, of course I
You get
do.
your hair and you get the color of
Uh,
your hair. You don't even turn gray. I don't know how you
yeah,
do it.
I tell everybody I still think of myself as a redhead, and I tell people, oh, the red being redhead, being red, blah blah blah. And then I was at the barber shop the other day, and he was cutting my hair, and I had the black apron on me or whatever, and whatever hair was touching that apron wasn't red. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
you couldn't call red exactly. So things are changing, I
I'll tell
guess.
you another story about one of the worst bosses I ever had. When I worked for Hoboken, I can say Hoboken because they're not around anymore.
Okay.
And I was out sick for like a week and a half. I had pneumonia. And we had brought a new product in, and they brought the product into the pro shop that I ran. I was a manager of, and they brought it in, and it was because I asked them to. So my butt was on the line for this product category, but I had a good feeling about it. So when I got back to work, I noticed that we had sold a bunch of it, you know? So I'm like, oh, great. This is awesome. So I look in the computer to who bought it, and I can't find anybody. I can't find who bought it, right? But
Yeah,
all
yeah,
this stuff is missing.
yeah,
So I'm talking to the warehouse manager, I'm talking to a sales guy. I'm like, hey, where'd this product go? Where did this and that go? I mean, it was all new, and everybody's just kind of shrugging their shoulders. So I'm like, Jesus, this is, my butt's on the line for this stuff, and it's missing. A contractor, I'm talking to a contractor, and he goes, you really don't know what's going on, do you? I said, no. He goes, one of the truck drivers sells product out of the truck. He even gave me a price list.
oh wow,
I was like, you're kidding. He
wow.
goes, no. And he shows me this handwritten price list. So I take it to the guy who was managing the whole company, our division. Take it to him and I go, hey, uh, this is what's going on. I said, he's selling it out the back. This is happening. I'm missing product. And, every time we do an inventory, we're always short. I'm like, how
Yeah,
come we can never be one over?
yeah.
Why are we always short? So here I am. I cracked the code. I figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
3 days later, he fires me.
You're a whistleblower.
The whistleblower gets fired. Right. Then I'm talking to another guy who says, yeah, the warehouse guy,
He
the
was in on it.
manager, they're all in on it, Rob. They're all making money.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like, what am I, the last innocent man? Nobody said, hey, Rob, you want a little taste?
Yeah.
Nothing, right?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
lose my job for being the whistleblower.
oh man, that's messed up.
And then then this guy tells me, he goes, yeah, man. He goes, it's sad to see this. He said, but that's why you got canned. He goes, they're all in on it. They've always all been in on it. And I was like,
Wow.
and he goes, that's, there's wood, there's this, there's that. And I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. So I'm going to put him as my worst boss ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to my face, oh, we were pals. We
My
were, we were the best of friends
yeah,
until
that's
like,
rat him out. Um, I'll tell you one more the boss I had in construction. This guy was an alcoholic and really bad at his job. But they hired him and they said, you know what? He's only got 6 more months before he retires, so let him just do his thing and he'll be out of here. And we had a new job starting one time. It was a huge building. And he goes, Wayne, you're going to be here for 3 years. I said, you're kidding. Because in construction, that's nice. And it doesn't usually happen like that.
three
So
years?
yes. So you don't know where
Damn.
you don't know, how long your check is going to be there because, a job could be 3 months or 6 months or 2 months or whatever. So 3 years, I can start making plans. You know what I mean? So I said, really, Bob, we're going to be here for 3 years? He goes, yeah, we got to put all those corbels in the ceiling. Look how many there is. We got to do all this. I got a set of plans coming tomorrow. And I said, man, that's fantastic, man. I told my wife, I go, hey, we might as well buy that car because we're going to be here 3 years. The car payment's like 3 or 4 years. So we're going to buy a new car and whatever. And I loved them. We went out to lunch and I bought, which is unusual as a kid. I was just happy. And we were laid off in 3 weeks. The whole crew. Yeah.
Jeez.
He subbed it out to somebody else and that was zero.
Oh, yeah, well, we
So
got the
yeah.
car.
Yeah. Well,
Get
make
the
it work.
car.
Yeah. So
So
all
let
right.
me ask you, what motivates you? If somebody was going to be your boss, you made it motivate. Are you motivated? Are you motivated more by money or praise?
Man, it depends on
Acknowledgement, praise, or
I think
money?
it I think it is where you are in your life. You go through stages, I think. Um Acknowledgement of say it again. What are the keys?
I don't know if these are
The
keys. I
options.
just I just made them up. Money,
Okay.
acknowledgement, or praise. I think praise and acknowledgement are the same thing.
Hmm. Well, in my career, man, they're all tied together, man. As you're young and you have a family and everything, the money is important. Well, and then but the praise and the other stuff is important too. Um, money, I mean, money, you need the money,
I
but
know I know
because
money is
here,
money. Yeah, I
okay,
get it.
because here's the thing. I put up with the other stuff from those other guys because the money was fantastic. So that was
Yes.
I put so the money is number one. Especially at that time when you're starting out and you need a lot of money when you're starting out and you have, whatever. Um, so that for sure was be a motivator for sure.
All right. Let me put it another way. I don't know how to put it another way. What would drive you to do a better job? Money or praise?
It's internal.
What would make you
You
work harder?
know something? I don't think you can throw money at someone to get better. I don't.
Ah, that's it. I I think you just nailed it. I think you absolutely nailed it. I mean,
Yeah,
I know what it is for me.
yeah. I
I
know it
figured
is for
this
you
out a
too.
long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
You pat me on the head and tell a group of people
You like an
that Rob is a
attaboy.
stud. I'll
Yeah.
work 24/7 for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my last three bosses that I had since I've been on the manufacturing side got that. Okay. All three of it got it. I mean, absolute pleasure to work for because they gave me acknowledgement, give me some praise. I mean, the money's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to do it for free,
Yeah.
but I think that's what motivates me to do a better job or do, try to go the extra mile
Yeah.
personally.
I really don't think money makes people better because I can think of two or three instances where I wanted someone to be better and I paid them more money and told them I'm paying you more money because I want you to step on blah blah, and they never did. In the end, they never did.
And
Uh,
I'll tell you, really, I mean, I kind of knew this for years, but sometimes in training, we'll go out and we'll do an individual training for a company. A company's big enough, we'll do the training for them at their facility if they get, so we were down south someplace and man, I was working with Robbie on this one. Robbie and I still talk about this, where you could tell right off the bat that the hatred between this guy, the owner, and
yeah,
his crew was incredible. Okay.
yeah,
I mean, like no hatred I had ever seen in my life. And I remember him saying to me, and these a-holes, he's talking about his own crew.
yeah.
He goes, you would not believe how much I pay these a-holes. They're making more money than they've ever made in their life, and they don't appreciate it. And and he looked at Robbie and I and he goes, I just hate these guys.
Oh man, that's
And when
funny.
he's out of the room, the guys are saying the same stuff about him. And
Yeah,
I remember Robbie looked at me and he goes, hey, partner, I know we got one more day here. He goes, let's try to wrap this up quick and get the hell out of here.
yeah. I I I think you
So,
got
what my point to that story is money is not
yeah,
always the motivator.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. I think number one, you really want to feel appreciated and make your guys feel
Yes.
appreciated.
Yeah.
That is a big deal to me and not taken for granted. I think being feel appreciated and I think is really high on that list. And number two, acknowledge that, hey, I see what you're doing. You know what I mean? I see these little things that you're doing. I get it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate those things because you didn't have to do the way you rolled up the cords every night in a certain way, whatever, and you take care of whatever. I mean, just acknowledgement for those type of things goes
Oh my
miles to me.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm going to name names. My last two bosses, D. Linston and Bill Price. I mean, and maybe I'm older, so I don't know, but absolutely the two best bosses I've ever had in my life.
yeah,
I mean, they did everything. They had the praise. They were good coaches. I mean, when you were down, they could bring you up. I mean, they really,
yeah,
it was just, I got lucky. I got
yeah.
really lucky.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think a path forward too is like, if you're trying to move up or whatever, if you're trying to, what's the next step and kind of knowing where you're at in the in the plans, the future and that kind of stuff is important too. So I think all money's important. Obviously, the money's important, but like I said, I have never seen a bad employee all of a sudden turn around and be good because he got more money.
Because you threw more money at them,
Yeah,
right?
I've never seen
Yeah.
that.
It doesn't work in pro sports either.
You're right. You're right.
Does
Yep.
not work in pro sports.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, look at Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
He was not liked by many people,
Yep.
but he got results. And some people would want to play for him,
Yeah.
not because of the money, but because of the results.
Yep.
They could make money someplace else. They wanted results.
The other thing too is sometimes you can have a boss who's an authoritarian like that, who's like really rigid, and it gets looked at like he's an a-hole or I don't know if we can say that or a bad person because he's that way. And sometimes those are the most caring people of all. You know what I mean? They're passionate and they care, and that's why they are the way that they are. And some of those are the best when you get to know them and understand them a little bit. Those are the best bosses out there. And I've seen sometimes young people will like throw him under the bus, like, oh, he's just a jerk.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's not. He knows what he's talking about, number one, or she, and he cares, and you can learn from them if you stay close to them and put the effort out. So it's a two-way street, always a two-way street. But I think because I've seen it before too, when they'll say, "Oh man, that guy's just a jerk, man. He's a horrible boss, whatever." But no, really, the guy's a good guy, and he's looking out for you, and he's looking out for his company. And this is the demands that are put on him. So he has expectations too, because his demands are going to be your demands. So there's a lot of that too, and a lot of this comes down to that one word that's so important as communication, and it's just talking it through. And you can get so much resolved by doing that, and so much goes unresolved if you don't talk about it. So,
I agree. Good
all
show.
right, okay, there you go.
Wrap it up.
This has been another show.
This has been another blank show.
This has been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. Please stay tuned for another episode.